First, we look at the social construction of women's roles, because women largely experience loss and grief and express or respond to that loss and grief in a way that's determined by the sociocultural context in which they live. There's social mores they try to observe. There's expectations of family, community that they try to live up to. So historically, we have broken down the categories of women into traditional, transitional, and modern/postmodern. And since 1970, the postmodern women would be most common. The second thing we've done is we've done the same approach to look at grief itself and how grief has been handled, talked about, written about, provided support according to a structure. And that structure also is derived from a sociocultural context. So we've married those two approaches into one to try to better understand, first, how do women experience their roles? How do they experience grief according to the sociocultural context in which they live? And how then do they respond to grief? Women experience grief in a very individual way, and each woman has lived in her own context. She's been raised in a family of some sort, in a culture of some sort, and she may have been raised and currently living in a very multicultural society. And we see that increasingly happening around the globe. But how does she respond to grief? According to how she was raised, according to the community she now lives in, according to the religion she was raised by or observes now. There's many questions and many influences to how a woman will experience and respond to grief. So our categories, traditional, transitional, postmodern, help us give a structure to even begin to think about how a woman may experience grief and how she will respond to it. This is relevant because we know from our study of grief and from particularly from Dr. Buckingham's work with 4,000 to 5,000 hospice and palliative care patients, that death is a topic that's not talked about very much. It's one of the occurrences in our lives, particularly in Western lives, that doesn't come onto our discussion plate until we're faced with it, or until we've lost something very significant. So it was important for us to put this book out there from a woman's perspective. Our book provides stories, women's experiences, that deal with loss and grief derived from loss of a partner or spouse, loss of a relationship, loss of a child, and loss of a career. Now you may think the latter, the loss of the career or retirement grief, doesn't fit. Well, in fact, we've studied it and listened to women's experiences of it, and there are many similarities with other kinds of loss and grief. So we think it's a very important element of this book and a unique perspective. My background is as a phenomenological researcher. It looks at the essence of human experience. And these women's stories that are in this book are derived from that approach.